Hey guys, what's up? Week 426? Yeah, 426. So you can tell I'm not talking exactly proper because, like I said last week, I was going to have a gum surgery. I think I'm recovering fairly well. It's been about 6 days since I've had it, so there's still some like tenderness and whatnot, and my mobility and my talking and smiling and everything is not 100%. So hopefully my brain is not doo-doo butter from it as well. Excuse King, bringing that back. But let's hop right into the reviews. The first one up is an upgrade here from Arrow Video, and this is 4K of Larry Cohen's 1985 classic, The Stuff, starring Michael Moriarty. That's right. Well, a bunch of other actors, really notable actors, pop up in here too, including, of course, Paul Sorvino, Garrett Morris, Danny Aiello. I can't think of the female lead in here. She's really strong as well. But what's really cool for this one is that it comes with the 4K version, of course, so it's been remastered. The Stuff is a very 80s movie. It has a lot of colors, a lot of fun little advertisements within it, you know, of course, kind of doing the stuff deal. But the second disc here on the Blu-ray is the pre-release version, which has been remastered just for this Arrow release. So it's damn near 2 hours, has a different score, has a bunch of different footage in there, and the ending's different. My only complaint is I don't like a little stinger line on there. You know, Larry Cohen's always trying to make things a little bit different, never give you exactly what you expect, and I think that little line at the end is a little of a letdown. But besides that, I actually like most of the new ending and additions and things like that. Now, the movie doesn't change, you know, the complete story or anything like that, but it adds a little bit more details. Almost every scene is longer. There's more dialogue. And this isn't something where they went ahead and added VHS inserts or something along that lines. It is completely remastered. The different score is pretty solid. I probably am more used to the original score. Now, Cohen talks about this in the old commentary that's been ported over, of course, since he passed away, but the original Blu-ray they had, he talks about the original version in that commentary, and he says, well, here we had more commercials and things like that, so that's all been put back. The commercials are longer. So I actually find this this pre-release version incredibly interesting. Is it as good as the theatrical? I would say no. But I think if you did amalgamation and picked your favorite parts from both, I do think that you have superior stuff by mixing both of them. Now, the film, The Stuff, I'm pretty sure most people have probably seen The Stuff. I don't know. But if you haven't, it is Larry Cohen at his best. Kind of, he always talked about, in a lot of different interviews and things and about the stuff, he would mention that in World War II, the cigarette companies would go over and give all the soldiers cigarettes, get them hooked. So when they came back, they had somebody that had a lifetime addiction to cigarettes so they can make money, and they never told them what was in the stuff. So hence The Stuff, it starts with two older guys, these kind of guys at like a mining company. They find this stuff seeping through the ground in the snow, and it's white, and somebody tastes it, which is ridiculous, you know, eating snow, but it's very funny to get there. And they realize it's incredibly tasty. Before we know it, it's in the stores, it's being mass-produced or mined and put everywhere. Everybody's addicted to the stuff. They love it. It's like the new dessert. Supremacy here. Everybody's got to get the stuff. 0 calories. It tastes great and everything like that. Michael Moriarty, who is become, after this film, and he was previously in Q Wing Serpent with Larry Cohen, but after this film and a couple other ones like Return to Salem's Lot, you know, I think he ended up working with Larry Cohen about 5 times or something along that lines. He plays Mo Rutherford. And he's got a great catchphrase. And these other dessert kind of tycoons, if you will, hire him to figure out what's in the stuff and kind of do some, you know, industrial espionage. So he's very fun, over the top, kind of southern guy. Michael Moriarty is a wild, weird actor, one of a kind of guy. Very good. So he ends up kind of digging deeper, and he ends up having this relationship with the person who mass kind of marketed the stuff. And these two kind of go on this mystery adventure to figure out where the stuff came from, what the stuff is, and all that kind of stuff like that. So there's kind of like, I dare I say it, kind of a Halloween 3 kind of vibe going on here, where we have the two, like the kind of odd couple paired up romantically, trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this weird, villainous dessert, if you will. It has key inspirations from other 50s classics like The Blob, A lot of Cohen's movies do have that kind of 50s style. If you look at Q the Winged Serpent, it definitely has that kind of inspiration from the 50s, or The Stuff, of course. I think that Cohen comes from that same cloth as a lot of those guys that, grew up watching and enjoying that kind of stuff like that, the old school monster movies. So the stuff is similar to The Blob, or even he did another alien film, surprise alien film, God Told Me To. It doesn't have many similarities to that, except that kind of like, I wouldn't call it like a third act revelation in that film, I would call it that. But in the stuff, you never really know where the stuff comes from. Everybody just assumes it's alien. Paul Sorvino is absolutely hilarious in this movie as this kind of like ultra right wing like general who is like isolated, and Mo Rutherford uses him to their benefits. He's really funny in it. He's hilarious. Got a lot of great lines. Clearly having a hell of a time doing it. But yeah, this movie is impressively fun. Like, I don't know how to say that. And like, I hate when people are like, when they say it's fun or ambitious, that means it's bad, and they just don't want to say it. That's horseshit, man. When you go to see a movie, you want to be entertained, or you want to learn something, or have your eyes opened up to something. I think the stuff does both of those. I think it points out the fucked up whole capitalism and consumerism about mass marketing something that probably barely passed the FDA or never did at all. All that kind of things like that. And I think that's intelligent in that aspect too. The stuff commercials are brilliant, using the Where's the Beef Lady, Ava Goda. There's one at the end in a stinger with Brooke Adams, who is another kind of sci-fi like classic actress from being on the 78 Body Snatchers, among other films too. So it's no surprise that it was cast with the people it was, and it flows really well. There is a little bit of downtime, I think. Towards the third act, or right before the third act, the pace slows down. There's a whole angle as well with a young child who like sees his stuff move, and his family's been taken over by the mechanisms. We can kind of see what it's like to have like this addiction to the stuff as well. And there's a great shot here when he's being chased by his family, and he's like running down the road, and we see the silhouette of them and kind of like the setting sun in the background, kind of almost at night with like streetlights, I believe. And it looks straight out of the 56 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Again, I'm sure a heavy influence for this. It's very much Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets The Blob, but with Larry Cohen's fun little 80s spin on it. About consumerism and capitalism and all these big corporations just running amok on and poisoning the American people, and nobody does a thing about it until they're caught, until they make it so obvious. But I really do enjoy this one. There's a lot of fun lines. Mo Rutherford's got great lines. They always ask me more money line, and is it eating you? Are you eating it, or is it eating you? Just good, clean, American, wholesome Larry Cohen fun here. It looks spectacular, especially the 4K, because the pre-release version is only on Blu-ray. Still looks really good, sounds really good, but the 4K is phenomenal. A lot of bright colors and everything like that. I was really happy with the stuff, the taste that makes you hungry for more. I would recommend it. Garrett Morris is fun in it too, as Chocolate Chip Charlie. As this kind of like old school ice cream tycoon kind of guy who lost his business due to the stuff and being muscled out. But as far as the special features are concerned, of course, we have Dolby Vision, we have original lossless English 1.0, optional subtitles, brand new commentary by writers and critic David Flint and Adrian Smith. That's pretty fun commentary, I remember correctly. I think they're a pair of British gentlemen, if I'm not mistaken. Archival commentary with director Larry Cohen. Can't get enough of the stuff. Making of Larry Cohen's classic creature features, a documentary featuring Larry Cohen, Paul Kurta, actress Andrea Markovici, that's the lead actress. She's pretty solid in this. Mechanical makeup effects artist Steve Neal and critic Kim Newman. That's entertaining. Good. Cohen stuff is like reused from probably the old edition and everything like that. This one's not new, I don't think. It was an archival, I can't remember. It's like a mixture of stuff that we've seen before, I think. Enough is Never Enough, a newly edited featurette featuring previously unseen interviews with director Larry Cohen and producer Paul Kurta, originally shot for 2017 documentary King Cohen. Okay, so this looks like extended interviews from King Cohen. 42nd Street Memories, The Rise and Fall of the America's Most Notorious Street, a feature-length documentary exploring the history of New York City's infamous 42nd Street, with the first-hand accounts from an array of filmmakers, including Larry Cohen. Yeah, that's a lot of fun, and if anybody's ever seen Cohen talk about 42nd Street and making movies in New York and stuff, it's a bit of that. And then Disc 2 is the pre-release version, an early pre-release cut of the film featuring over 30 minutes of additional and different footage and additional music, a different music score, exclusively remastered by Arrow Video. 1080p, original lossless English 1.0, subtitles, of course. So if you guys have never seen this stuff, I highly recommend picking it up. It's a fun one. Really recommend it. I think New World put this one out. It was after Corman was gone, but I believe it was New World Pictures, if I'm not mistaken, my old VHS, which I wish kind of they had the old original VHS cover art here. I wonder if they're reversible. I didn't get a chance to check. Is the classic art? No, I love the VHS cover. If I'm not mistaken, it's like a group of people all covered in the stuff, like reaching up and stuff. That's a very memorable VHS for me. But highly recommended. It was great to revisit the stuff. I had not watched it since I did 1985 for 22 Shots of Boots and Horror, but I've seen the stuff. Man, it's been with me ever since I was a young teenager, so always loved it. Okay, next up is another 4K from Arrow Video, and this is Cobra, starring Sylvester Stallone, of course, has Bridget Nielsen in there, Andy Robinson, Art LaFleur is also in here, Brian Thompson. So it's got a nice little cast there. So, Cobra, 86. So, we're talking about, like, vigilante cop movies and that kind of taking your law into their own hands in the 70s was very prevalent with, the Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry movies and other things like that. Charles Bronson did a lot in his films. When we get to the early 80s, it's still there with, like, Death Wish 2 and Vigilante and Fighting Back, The Seduction Class of 1984. So, it's still prevalent. By the time we get to 1986, the whole, like, we kind of switched from the take his law into his own hand cop, and we're more to the buddy cop movie, which sometimes they cross the line into, but the buddy cop movies are more lighthearted and kind of a little bit different in that. And this movie, it feels more like it's cut from the cloth of the 70s film. So this movie kind of got its life because originally Stallone was going to be in Beverly Hills Cop. He had this character, Axel Cobretti, and, he was very interested in doing that movie. But as he got his hands into it more, he started to alter the movie into be more like kind of a gritty thing. And they decided to go a different route and had Eddie Murphy, and we have what we have, right? Kind of like that following up on 48 Hours. So Beverly Hills Cop is great, So he still kind of had this character, Cobretti. He wanted to take him, so now he has Marion Cobretti. He wants to make this movie. He wrote the script and things, and he has regrets that he didn't direct it. He mentions that. George P. Cosmatos came in. He'd worked with Stallone on, of course, Rambo 2. And some people say that George P. Cosmatos is a ghost director, But I don't know the truth on that. They say that Kurt Russell kind of helped on Tombstone directing. Don't know if it's true. And I love Tombstone, and they possibly, Stallone worked on directing a bit on Rambo 2 and Cobra. I don't know the truth of it all or anything like that. But Stallone definitely had a heavy hand being like the biggest superstar of the time. The thing with Cobra is the whole thing feels like it's a little half-cooked, He had gotten married to Bridget Nielsen on the set and stuff, and they set up Andy Robinson's character as kind of like the big bad secret character, and then by the end of it they kind of ditch it, and they say so in the interviews, and I was like, that's what happened with him, because watching the movie you're like, is Andy Robinson only here because he's Dirty Harry, but also is he only here so Stallone has someone to punch in the face at the very end, kind of like that trope that would become even more popular with Die Hard later, and Bruce Willis tended to do it at the end of all his movies. But that kind of idea, right, to just punch like somebody in your face like that at the very end of your movies. But in reality, they cut some stuff out, and they made it cut. It was cut for violence and all sorts of things like that. Art LaFleur is solid in this one. I like Andy Robinson in it, but he's just not. He's just an odd character. Art LaFleur is the chief. He's good in there. And Brian Thompson is the leader of this New World Order, kind of a villainous terrorist group that's going around killing and massacring everybody around. And they don't seem to have any real direction or anything. Brian Thompson's a great heavy. He was in Terminator a couple years before, fighting, getting killed by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He ended up getting kicked by Jean-Claude Van Damme and Lionheart. It was Lionheart. Yeah, that's the one. Or is it Bloodsport? It's Lionheart. Definitely Lionheart. So, Brian Thompson became, kind of a heavy in the 80s action movies and stuff. Kind of like if you needed somebody like him or Patrick Kilpatrick or Nicholas Worth, you brought these guys in and they just were, ultimate goons or villains. They were really good at their jobs. And I really enjoy him in this movie. I think he's solid. He's got the great voice. He's got the great look. His whole idea and motives are a little half-cooked. But hey, he's just crazy. He's also they call him the Night Stalker, which was going on around the same time as the Richard Ramirez murder. So there's all that going in here. I feel like this movie would have best fit in the early 80s or most definitely 70s. It's kind of cut from that cloth. And I think that the action's fun. I think it's entertaining. They cut it for violence, and you can kind of tell. And it's kind of strange because by the time you get to 1990 with Total Recall or even 87 with RoboCop, the violence was abundant, and maybe it's RoboCop gets away because stats higher, but Cobra's 1 year before. You think that they could have pushed the violence a little bit. The thing about Stallone is, I think later on in his career, he was better at, handling humor and making little pointing jokes at himself. In this one, he seems a little too serious. I think the character of Cobra, he's so serious it becomes silly. And maybe I'm missing points here or nuances, but I think like in Demolition Man or something, I think that he uses his humor right. I think he uses his character right, and I think the humor comes across great, and he plays jokes on himself. While this one, it almost becomes like cheese-tastic in a way. Cobra is definitely a product of the mid 80s, and it's like a throwback to the 70s movies. Overall, it's a fun, entertaining movie with a lot of explosions and a lot of action. Part 4 movies at times. It's a strange one. It's an odd duck. Overall, I like the movie. It looks really good. It sounds good. But on memory, it didn't hold up as much as I imagined. Renting all the action movies with my brother as a kid, Cobra was a favorite. One that we loved, Stallone and Arnold. But this one, it just wasn't quite as good as we remembered. I remembered, at least. It's packed with some new features, and it's got a lot of old ones from the original release as well. Brand new 4K restoration, 35mm negative from Arrow. Then with Dolby Vision, of course. We have brand new commentary by film critics Kim Newman and Nick de Semelin. That's fun. They have some fun at Cobra's expense. Talk about the different renditions. This is based off a book, and Fair Game and other things are based off of the Sidney Crawford Baldwin movie. William Baldwin, I think it was. But that's very crazy. I did not know that. Brand new audio commentary by film scholars Josh Nelson and Martin Pedler. Audio commentary by George P. Cosmatos, 98, Easton's Past. TV version of the film featuring deleted and altered scenes, printed the first time in home video, standard definition only. Slashing the Night Away, new interview with composer Sylvester LeVay. Talks about working with Stallone. Stallone was very demanding, but he seemed to like him. Dark Glasses, Violence and Robots, a new visual essay about the film critic Abby Bender on Cobra and 80s Minimalist cinema. Talks about the weird robot sequence and the hilariousness of it. White Line Nightmare, a new video essay by film critic Martin Cotero on Cobra and the Maverick Cop genre. Stalking and Slashing, archival interview with Brian Thompson. Then we have actor Marco Rodriguez, archival. Andy Robinson, interview with Lee Garlington. And then we have archival with Art LaFleur. A lot of these kind of shed some light on it. George P. Cosmatos yelled a lot. Brian Thompson didn't have a great kind of experience on set, to be honest. Wasn't invited to the premiere. Andy Robinson talks about getting out of that end scene with the reveal. The Making of Cobra 86 featurette. That has some sly stuff in there, I think. And TV spots. Then we have newly commissioned artwork by Tommy Pocket. Illustrated collector's booklet containing new writings on the film by critics Ken Barstow, William Babani, Priscilla Page, and Ariel Sudson. Double-sided fold-up poster featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Tommy Pocket. Fun movie, ridiculous movie, bizarre movie for the time, but still very, very much a product of its time, but also a throwback. Okay, this next one here is from Deaf Crocodile, and this is Gwen and the Book of the Sand. This is a 4K here. This is a French animated movie. It's relatively short, about 64 minutes, and it has a lot of philosophical aspects about it, which is kind of funny because one of the other animated movies I recently covered from Deaf Crocodile also had a bit of that here, but I much preferred this one. The animation, it's a little bit different, but it's gorgeous and beautiful, especially when you're looking at kind of the horizons and things in here. Now, this takes place in a post-apocalyptic kind of world where something had happened. It's almost like a desert world where large things fall out of the sky, and a lot of the survivors have to crawl into wells at night. And what we follow is kind of like this magical kind of like young child who has these powers and whatnot, and he is abducted from somebody, and the newcomer of the tribe is kind of blamed for it, and an old witch that's like damn near 200 years, and this young girl have to kind of go on this adventure. It's definitely a adventure movie of them walking across this like bleak but also like incredibly hot, beautiful landscape of desert, coming across all sorts of weird kind of surreal imagery, including these giant items and things, and eventually kind of in seeing these other like kind of people that are weird, controlling, like kind of in this, like, I guess you'd say like they're, I don't know, say like pulling the strings to a certain extent, but it's never like quite as like scary as something like Fantastic Planet or anything like that. But the one thing I will say is it's relatively short. It's a brief, kind of film. The adventure aspects are really strong. The dialogue is strong. The philosophical, poetic imagery and philosophy, all that kind of stuff within here I don't have all that much to say about Gwen and the Book of Sand, but it's more of a movie that you just kind of have to experience, to have to watch and look at. I thought it was gorgeous. I thought it looked really good. I don't have all that much to say about it. Like I said, unfortunate, but if you're into animation and you're into a certain types of animation, I would say though that even if you don't like the animation right away, just give your eyes some time to adjust. And I think that there's no way that you don't appreciate this to a certain extent. The 4K looks great. Animation, surprisingly, a lot of people would think, oh, it doesn't look that good in 4K, but it kind of blows you away. It looks excellent. There are some features on here. New interview with director Jean-François Laguionie, I can't say the last name, moderated by Dennis Bartok of Deaf Crocodile. So this is in French with simultaneous English translation by Fred Cassidy. This is pretty long. Pretty interesting how they did that. Bartok will ask a question, and Fred Cassidy will translate if need be, and the director will answer, and then Fred Cassidy will translate as well. So he gets into stuff like asking about, growing up during World War II had any effect on the stuff that he was going to watch and this kind of make in this desolate thing. And he says not necessarily. He talks about other kind of stuff that inspired him. And he also asks how he was into animation and comic books. All that kind of stuff is history. New video essay by journalist and physical media expert Ryan Vernell, the disconnected and film professor Dr. Will Dotson. Now this is kind of like a big philosophical thing, edited really well, and brings up some of the most memorable lines in there and kind of makes you think. It's really well done. A new commentary by film historian Sam Deacon, who is great as well. Deacon, she brings in like Dune and mentions how much similarities this has to Dune and how hard Dune is to kind of make into something, adapt, and this kind of has a lot of the similarities, although vague and things like that as well. So it's a nice release, a lot of people involved, a gorgeous looking movie that you kind of have to experience on your own. Gwen and the Book of Sand. Okay, this next one here is from Radiance Films, and this is Beast to Die. And this stars Masuda, who's a popular Japanese actor who did a slew of movies. What was that? Yokohama BJ Blues, which Radiance Films put out. And he was kind of a cult actor that died really young at 40 years old, which kind of pushed his cult life further. He's in the one of the Seijan Suzuki like Wild trilogy movies. That's really cool from '81. I can't think of the name. Kojiro, something around that line. But he's a really strong actor. And I watched A Beast to Die when I did 1980 because it caught my attention. And rewatching it on Blu-ray was great because this one definitely needs the attention and love. We have Masuda plays kind of this a really odd character, and he is obsessed with kind of music and things like that. In the very beginning, he has this throwdown crazy fight in the rain with this police officer where he steals his weapon and kills him, then proceeds to kill some Yakuza guys in a bar, a couple memorable character actors in that scene too, and he steals their money, and this kind of puts him forward. And right in the beginning, he's mentally not well, and while he's getting music and listening to music, he keeps running into this girl, which kind of feels somewhat like a romance. And as it progresses, he has this dinner with a bunch of his old like college friends and everything like that, and they're all approaching in their late 20s into their early 30s, and they said goodbye to their 20s, right? This is their idea here. Goodbye to my 20s and into our 30s, and he realizes all these guys are talking business, how they're moving forward in their life, and he's a complete outcast. He's highly intelligent, but he's just kind of almost a dark soul, maybe a sociopathic soul, a mentally ill soul, and he's already killed 4 people in this film. But by doing that, he caught the attention of, I can't think of this actor's name, but it's a brilliant character actor who's in like Lullaby of Death from '82, catches this detective who is on the case, and he decides to follow this lead of a tall, hunched over man, and that's him. He thinks it's him, so he starts to follow him around, and that adds this element of tension and thriller aspect to it too, which I love. But that scene where he's at the dinner, and all his friends are talking about moving forward in their lives, and he's in this different idea. He's an outcast. He's somebody different. And the waiter also that they have is around the same age, and there's this big kind of fight between him and one of his old college friends. And he notices this, and him and the waiter start to kind of have this relationship, and he takes him under his wing and starts to push forward all these dark ideas on this waiter and everything like that, and convinces him that he needs to be free from his love life and all these fucked up things. And we learn more about Masuda here, is that he was this journalist who witnessed all these horrible war crimes and things, and he has post-traumatic stress disorder, which plays into the fact why he seems to be dead inside. And one of my favorite lines in this film is when Masuda is talking to the waiter, and or something along those lines, or one of them's talking to him, and I think the waiter says something to him that, you're your eyes are dead inside, or it's vice versa. And he's like, there's nothing there. And he says, like yours, right? And like there's that kindred spirit, right? Though they're not really quite right. They kind of in that same vein of maybe mentally unstable outcasts in society. And the waiter has nothing to do but laugh about it. And so what happens is they decide to carry out this bank robbery, which is incredibly violent. It's really intense and looks really real, I think, in a lot of aspects. And the commentary mentions that, or is it a special feature? I can't remember. They shoot a lot of the action in wide, and the opening fight scene, it's sloppy, and they say it's very Kinzi Fukasaku's films. And his action scenes always seem raw and real because they're sloppy. You get shot, you get stabbed, you get up, you run 10 feet, you fall into a street merchant shit, you turn around, you fall, you get stabbed, all that kind of stuff like that. It feels real, and that's in this too. But the bank robbery scene is brutal and it's intense, and the movie only gets darker from that point on. It's an excellent movie. The ending is weird and surreal and almost supernatural to a certain extent, and the director kind of explains that in his interview to what he wanted to do, this old kind of myth and everything, and put in there maybe as a Greek myth and things like that along those lines, and I can respect that. The special features are pretty excellent, especially the interview with the director. He talks about working with Masuda, and he says this was to be our last film together. This is before everybody knew that Masuda was dying of cancer and things like that. And he said he probably was sick around this time, and he said, there's nothing else I can do for you. And we should part ways because you need to grow and go out and do more things, and this is going to be our last film. So we didn't tell each other what to do or how to do it. We just did what we pleased, and this was the outcome of it. And I think this is based off a book, if I'm not mistaken, but he gets very emotional here, where he talks about Masuda coming back to him towards the end of his life and saying, let's do one more together, a TV movie. And it's really emotional, and the director keeps it together, but just barely. And that is the most brutal shit for me to watch, right? It's hard to watch. It's really sad, and it's reminiscent of, when Argento talked about Fulci, or more so when George Eastman talked about when Joe D'Amato, when he talked about Joe D'Amato, or Claudio Fragazzo talked about Bruno Mattei in their interviews. This kind of bond that an actor or writer or director would have amongst each other, or a colleague or somebody, even somebody that's a constant competitor, a friendly competitor to a certain extent, and this camaraderie they have together. And it was just a touching, interesting interview. Loved it. This is a great movie. This is a movie that if you're looking for a hard-nosed crime film, a psychological drama, the effects of war on someone, a brutal movie too at times, I would highly recommend this. Beast to Die is a great film. Very happy to see it get a release from Radiance Films. And the director is Toru Murakawa, and I have seen other films by him, I believe, as well, but it doesn't ring a bell 100%. The Game trilogy I did see, which also stars Masato. But yeah, Masada. Masada. I want to say it, make sure I say that right, because I've seen about half a dozen of his films, and he's excellent in all of them, and he's got a great, unique look. But beautiful movie, artsy, just brilliant. There's nothing else you could really ask for in it. There is some more features as well. I'll get to them. Where are we at here? Oh yeah, interview with director Toru Murakawa. Interview with screenwriter Maruyama, which I actually didn't get a chance to watch, and newly filmed appreciation by novelist and screenwriter Jordan Harper, which I did watch as well. And there's also booklet featuring new archival writings by Masato and Tom Mez. But excellent movie, highly recommended. If you're into Japanese crime films, psychological stuff, then Beast to Die is one of the best. Okay, next up here is Detonation, Violent Riders, which appears to be some sort of the first in kind of a loose trilogy of films here. This stars Sonny Chiba, is the big name for me in here. This is by Teruo Ishii. This is from 88 Films. Now, Teruo Ishii, of course, is more known for me for his, his prison movies. That's probably one of his bigger ones, Prisoner, Arabashi. But for me, and I think most of the people on this channel, it's like Horrors of Malformed Men, Blind Women's Curse, The Love and Crime, his crazy anthology torture films. Just a great director, and I feel like I've covered a lot of his films. He was in the V Cinema set as well. And the more work I see by Teruo Ishii, the more you realize how versatile director he is. So this is kind of an oddball made in 1975. It's a biker flick here. And we have this too cool for school mechanic kind of guy who doesn't really want a biker gang, but everyone kind of floods to him because he's so damn cool. He ends up having this kind of like dangerous race with a biker gang, and a bunch of people see him, and he becomes kind of like this guy that everybody flocks to, even against his will. And he starts to like really like this kind of innocent kind of schoolgirl who's like not kind of like brothers with Sonny Chiba, who's like a badass old school hardened biker who's more of a racer. He's not like a biker and everything like that. And he doesn't, the father, I think they lost their father to the bikes or whatever. So he's anti-bike. He's anti this guy dating the daughter, but they have a true love relationship. And as it progresses, we're going to have a lot of drama things here. We're going to have some rebel without a cause kind of stuff back and forth, 75 kind of style biker Japanese stuff. We have biker fights, we have biker races, we have, people screwing each other over, we have some sexual stuff, we have a topless dance party where all the women's breastises are hanging out, and we have a violent rape as well. So it's got like a lot of the things that you would associate with biker films, even the biker exploitation films from the 70s probably, or something along the lines of those 50s kind of rebel kind of youth films. So it has a lot of that going on here, but it's got this own Japanese flavor too. Sonny Chiba steals the show when he's on screen. He's tough, he's hard, and he's kind, but he's right, that kind of deal. Good kind of character in here. This movie is very tragic in the Shakespearean kind of way, where most of the characters are going to meet a horrible, tragic, depressing end, including his best friend sidekick, whose mother has a great scene where she kind of confronts him and says, "Please come home, let me ride your bike," and she rides the bike with him, and it's like this adorable little scene. Detonation, Violent Riders is a pretty solid movie overall. Good film. There's also this element of like the kind of like industrial assholes in there and whatnot being in there. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Burst City before it, right? Because Burst City has that whole big aspect where we have like the Yakuza and the cops and stuff, and then the biker gangs and hard blue collar workers going against all that kind of stuff. It does feel a little bit like that, although Burst City with something that's completely different. But yeah, Detonation, Violent Riders is worth watching. It's interesting. The ending is really tragic and memorable, and kind of what you expect in a weird way. Some spoiler here, some maybe some dirty Mary, Crazy Larry shit going on, or Crazy Larry, Dirty Mary, whichever you prefer, whichever the real title is. I don't remember, obviously. But as far as his features are concerned, we have booklet notes by Michelle Kisner. Great, love Michelle. We have commentary by Ashley Darrow and Jonathan Greenway of Horror Vanguard podcast. They talk a little bit about this movie. They seem to enjoy it. They make some jokes, not at his expense, but they're pretty lighthearted about everything. Brand new video essay by Nathan Stewart, and original newly commissioned artwork by Elin Sheedy. I wonder if they're going to release the other two that Teruo Ishii did. I'm not too familiar with them. The lead actor is also good, besides Chiba, Koichi Iwaki, but I'm not too familiar with them off the top of my head. I would recommend it if you're into biker films or Teruo Ishii movies. It's pretty solid. Okay, this next one here is from Dark Force Entertainment, and this is The Beast and the Vixens. That's right. And this actually has the first commentary, the Demon Dave and Joe's Savage Tracks audio commentary, Volume 1. Now, this is a 1972-1973, I believe, bizarre film. So, this movie was originally done in a sex version and then later a horror version. This version, I believe, is the horror version. Now, in the early commentary with David Gregory makes an appearance from Severn Films and Joe Rubin from Vinegar Syndrome, and they're talking, and they mention where they found this, the negatives to this, but they could never locate the full uncut hardcore version. So they really, Severn really didn't want to put it out, so they ended up having Demon put it out from Dark Force, and that's kind of where we're here with this film. So the plot is rather ridiculous. In 1970 we had that, what was it called? Bigfoot was a big movie, and after that there was tons and tons of Bigfoot movies. Legend of Boggy Creek in the early 70s. It was Bigfoot City. So this one here is around that time, right? But it has a softcore element and maybe a hardcore version. I'm not 100% understanding. It could have possibly been in there as well. But Joe also mentions The Geek, which is a hardcore Bigfoot movie or softcore porno Bigfoot thing. But this one follows these women that are being kidnapped by the Sasquatch in the woods. He's taking them to their cabin. Usually sometimes they're shirtless, and he's holding them hostage for whatever reason. Maybe Bigfoot wants to mate. Maybe he's a little shy. Maybe he just likes, looking at him. Who knows? But at the same time, we have a pair of criminals that are looking for their stashed gold coins that they went to prison for, and they're getting out. One of them is getting out, and they're on their way to find this. And we have a group of hippies that have been staying in this cabin where they hid the gold and everything like that. And they're kind of just hanging out, playing music, living there 6, 7, 8 months a year. and at the same time we have two pretty girls who are not against having some lesbian relationships that go out there and, you know, like to take off their clothes freely, all that kind of shit like that. But of course, these girls are going to meet the hippies and everything like that. There's a weird hermit old man out there. Bigfoot's going to get involved and start watching them. But the criminals are going to come. They're going to look for their gold. There's going to be attempted rapes. There's going to be some sex scenes. There's going to be some fondling, all that kind of stuff like that. There's going to be some other characters that don't really mingle with any of the other characters, that just kind of carry the plot longer, pad the runtime. And eventually, Bigfoot's going to kind of have his standoff with the criminals. Overall, The Beast and the Vixens is okay. It's decent. Most of the actors, according to Joe Rubin in the commentary, are adult actresses, you know, had done adult films and things like that. So a lot of the acting's not great. They don't really get a chance to flex their muscles. It's shot on 16mm again by Joe Rubin. The commentary is absolutely hilarious. It's a messy, purposely kind of silly commentary, but it has a bunch of information. A lot of Demon just kind of busting his balls of his friends in the background and things like that, and Joe Rubin giving information, and Demon. They have good chemistry. They're very fun commentaries, and sometimes the commentaries are actually better than the movies. This one is decent. It's fine. If you're looking for kind of a softcore, like kind of horror-oriented movie, then The Beast and the Vixens may be for you. I can't give it a wholehearted recommend, but if you're into the movie's history and stuff, and you can find some entertainment, I would give it a recommend. You know, I love the commentary. I'm okay with the movie, if that makes any sense. It's a little rough looking. It is not fully uncut. And I believe there was a DVD that had inserted the hardcore versions into, in standard def. So this movie's kind of a lost movie in terms of elements, but the unbelievable erotic adventure, The Beast, an exciting primeval color. It's a little faded color, but the print's probably not exactly 100%, or the negatives. And the Vixens. Oh, there's got some breastises on the cover here. But yeah, if you're looking for some TNA and a Bigfoot movie, look no further than The Beast and the Vixens, also known as The Beast and the Something Else, as alternate title, of course. Okay, I'm going to be relatively brief with this one. I went and saw Megan 2.0 in the theaters and everything. Now, the first Megan I was fine with. I thought it was entertaining enough, 6.5 out of 10 or something along those lines. You know, it's kind of like the Child's Play remake, AI kind of thing here, or fun enough, goofy enough. And I was like, okay, I can get behind this. So Megan 2, I saw the trailers, and they look absolutely ridiculous. It's going like full Terminator 2 on steroids, absolutely ridiculous nonsense. Didn't look like much horror in it, but I was like, why not? It's playing in theaters. I might as well go into the theaters and have fun, you know. So overall, in the beginning, it opens up, and I was like, oh, this is better than expected. It has this like a little bit more serious aspect of this kind of like rogue robot going around and killing people and kind of running away, and they of course have to bring Megan back to kind of solve it and everything along those lines. So the this new rogue robot's going around and killing everybody who had anything to do with the original Megan programming, and it says a lot about kind of AI. It has like these AI bro kind of guys in here, some of which are kind of like these big kind of investors and things like that like has stuff like from Upgrade in there where you can put the chip in and be able to walk, and has all that kind of elements in here, and does say a couple of decent things about AI. As the movie progresses, I think the second act gets a little repetitive, gets a little slow. We have like a lot of downtime, and I started to kind of lose a little bit of interest. The third act, of course, blows up into like this big action set piece and everything like that. There's some blood, there's some funny lines. Overall, Megan 2.0 is decent. It's not amazing. It's not a wonderful movie. I don't think it's quite as good as the first film, but I don't think it's as horribly bad as probably some people think it is either. It's a fair action sci-fi light horror kind of comedy. Take your family to it, get some one-liner deal and everything like that. And Megan's become kind of like this like popular amongst like the gay people and stuff, so you hear like a lot of these one-liners that are funny, like this bitch and stuff like that, and you're like, this is absolutely ridiculous, like world, like leave it to like people to become like obsessed with this like almost villainous robot and stuff like that. It's funny. Anyways, Megan 2, it's fine, it's okay, it's not great, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate my time with it. I do think that in the middle there's a little bit of a lull, while the first act and third act are a little bit better. Okay, this next one here is Hell of a Summer. I'm going to be relatively brief with this one. I decided to watch this one, kind of watching some more of the 2025 horror watches, even though I think this one's technically 2023, but I think it counts as 2025. So it's actually directed by two of the actors in here. Finn Balor is his name, and a couple of them, or Finn, I can't think of the two actors' names that are starring this. They actually directed it, one of which from, I think, Stranger Things is one of those actors. But so they directed this, and this is kind of fun. Opens up with kind of a fun little murder, which is very obvious here. The guys who own the camp get killed here. And we have all the counselors coming back. Now we have this counselor who's way too old to be doing it. He's 24. He's been here, coming here 6 years as a counselor and everything like that. His mom's very upset with him, but he just loves summer camp. He's kind of annoying, very forgettable person, and he's kind of just written off in all these people's lives. No one pays much attention to him. He's very well done. He's a very well written, realistic character that doesn't quite go too over the top. We're laughing watching this. We're like, this is a character that Henry Zabrowski would play on like last podcast and just completely go over the top and hilarious with it. But this actor brings it back to a grounded level of this kind of like super nice guy, super like he doesn't really know where he belongs. He doesn't really have a realistic self-awareness about himself, if that makes any sense, and that's kind of where he's at. So the other counselors come back, and there's a lot of kind of like douchebags in the mix, kind of like a Sleepaway Camp Part 2 or 3 or something along those lines. A lot of douchebags amongst the mix, like the one kid who's always constantly lying, and then when you're like, oh, that's cool, he's like, no, it's not cool. Like always has to like tell everybody how it really is. Annoying character in Mike, and then like Demi, who's like this ultra pretty girl who just very, very empty inside. The vegan that has to let you know it's a vegan, which is surprised that character's in here. I feel like that character is such like a 5-year thing to do. And then we have the two main characters who are like kind of the young guys who are coming back for the first time. They're looking to party. One of their love interest, and we also have kind of like the girl who's into like the weird kind of like she's into what we saw like a spiritual stuff, and like the premonitions. She's like a medium kind of deal. So it's like a wide array of weird characters. The gay drama actor. So yeah, most of them are douchey and funny and goofy and assholes. A couple of them are likable. Of course, our lead is, and his girl that he has an interest in is also kind of a weird, kind of strange girl that's funny, that's not into the same stuff as the other people. But yeah, of course they start to get picked off relatively quick, and it's not a slow-paced movie. It's relatively fast. A couple of the kills are pretty solid, especially an axe wound to the head. Kind of was like, oh, that's a little bit next level gore and violence for this movie. But at the end of the day, I ended up enjoying it. Hell of a Summer is a pretty solid little fun slasher movie. Is it amazing? No. Is it like top 10, top peak of the heap or anything like that? No. But it's a fairly it's an inoffensive, fun little slasher movie that has a couple good kills, some solid characters, a couple laughs. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time with it. It's not a wholehearted recommend, but a slight recommend. Hell of a Summer. And the two leads actually directed it, like I said, which is impressive. Bobby's actually a pretty funny character. He's kind of like the douchebag that redeems himself. And they do set up a couple of things that are obviously going to play into and everything like that. But I do like Hell of a Summer. It's worth a look if you like slashers. Definitely self-aware, which could be a hit for some people or positive for others. It depends what floats your boat on that kind of deal. But Hell of a Summer, I enjoyed it. It's pretty fun. Okay, the Patreon pick here was from Nick Mua, and it was another one from the Greg Ararchi's Teen Apocalypse trilogy. Now, I've already covered... sorry about that. Again, dental surgery. I've already covered Doom Generation on here and totally fucked up. So I was like, well, we're going to do Nowhere. And Nowhere was made in 1997. And Greg Ararchi, to me, was, he's always made interesting films. I think Doom Generation was the first one I saw, and I liked it. I just maybe a little didn't get it until I watched some of his other films. And I probably saw Mysterious Skin. And Mysterious Skin was such a different approach to filmmaking than Doom Generation. And I thought it was a great film, impactful film with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I love Mysterious Skin. I think it's a great movie. Hurts a lot. It's a painful movie to watch, but a great one. Has all that kind of stuff in there, coming of age, alien, homosexual stuff in there. I think it's perfect for Greg Ararchi. But the one movie that I've seen of his that I think kind of sums up Greg Ararchi perfectly is Nowhere. 1997, amazing cast of people. I won't remember everybody in here, but I guess I'll try. James Duvall stars in it, and James Duvall's an underrated actor, especially in the Greg Ararchi movies. He's just perfect. He's also Totally Fucked Up and Doom Generation. He's all three of them. Nathan Brexik's in here, and then there's tons of roles by people like Tracy Lords and Rose McGowan in small roles. Rachel True, underrated actress from The Craft and Half Baked. There's just so many people in here. I know that I'm gonna lose some. Guillermo Diaz from Half Baked as well. Just tons and tons of people. Ryan Phillippe, Heather Graham. Everybody's in this movie. They all have these small wild roles. They all interact in this crazy, weird LA mingled hell. So I think that this pretty much sums up, Greg Ararchi's weird fascination with aliens, his kind of weird, teen, angsty drama stuff going on, what it feels like to be a teenager, his, homosexual queer kind of stuff and outlook in life, and the like the bisexual nature of all these characters and things like that, the silliness, the funniness, the bright colors, the weird, outrageous characters, the wonky one-liners, the coincidences, all the weird stuff that goes into his movies. I feel like it's all summed up perfectly in Nowhere. And although as goofy and funny as the whole thing is, it's incredibly dark and tragic all in the same breath, and fucked up. And I love this movie. I've always been a huge fan of it from the first time I saw it on DVD. And I think this is the only way, this is the number one movie to me that sums up being a young, possibly confused teenager about sexuality or where you fit in life or how you feel or how that kind of angst or that depression or dread or whatever feel sums up. I think Greg Araki gets it perfect. And also I think he gets up that impending doom that sometimes you feel in life, and that kind of like that stay up to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning wandering around the city with nothing to do in the heat. I don't know how to explain this, but Greg Araki's movies are the ones that I feel are most quintessentially teen films that date themselves, that age well, that feel genuine in what they're doing without coming across as some weird old guy writing teens. I don't know why, and it's the only one that I go back and watch his movies where I don't feel embarrassed, to watch, like, oh, this is so dated or so cringy or so, what's that line that Jeremy always makes fun of? I don't remember what movie from. Is like, God is just kid with an ant farm or something like that. That cringiness or something. That whole, oh man, whatever. And I feel like his movies just capture that feeling perfectly. James Duvall is kind of like this hopeless romantic dating Rachel True, who also dates another girl. So they're in an open relationship. And he always feels like lost and depressed, and he's always looking for his perfect soulmate and everything like that. And, the whole movie, he's witnessing this alien while he's videotaping it and making like this documentary and things like that. And there's this whole big party going on, and it's all leading to this, and all these different characters' interactions with each other, and these tragedies strike, and they all intermingle, like I said, perfectly. Highly sexually energized stuff here. I don't think it was rated R, which is nuts to me. But nowadays it most certainly would be. But the end of it, I just find it really kind of fucked up that you possibly meet your soulmate, that one person that you could feel like is that person, but they had been abducted by an alien and they were implanted with something and just explode, and just what is there to say about it? Hey, I'm out of here, right? It's so weird, but so brilliant and just bizarre all at the same time. It's so hard to sum up the wackiness, but also the whole tonal weird shift and mixtures of his movies. But I think Nowhere is the best way to do it. It's not as dark as something like Doom Generation or as raw as something like Totally Fucked Up. It's as kind of lighthearted and crazy at the same time as whimsical, but also has those elements that Doom Generation and Totally Fucked Up would have. I think it's the perfect blending of his work, and I think Nowhere is kind of a brilliant masterpiece for what it is. I know people are like, oh, you're crazy, but man, this movie just speaks to me. It always spoke to me. So like the first one was 93, Totally Fucked Up, Doom Generation 95, and Nowhere's 97. I think that Doom Generation, I think that Nowhere is the best of the three. There's a commentary on here, and it's a bunch of people from the they're on there just talking and having fun and reminiscing, and just like an old group of people getting together to just reminisce and things like that. But it's fun. They have a good time on there. It's not like the most, they do put some information in there and facts, but it's not the most factual. It's not like this person did this and that stuff. But it looks great in 4K. Highly recommend picking this set if you'd like any of these movies. I love this set. It's a cool set. Love the movies involved, and love Greg Araki. I need to pick up Mysterious Skin on Blu-ray. I was hoping for a 4K, man, of that movie, but great one. I think I go Nowhere, Mysterious Skin, Doom. I don't know. Doom Generation Totally Fucked Up around the same level. Kaboom, I don't remember loving, but I'm sure there's a couple other ones I've seen. I don't know if I saw Splendor, but yeah, Greg Araki's movies are pretty fucking crazy, pretty wild. I need to watch In the Living End as well, but yeah, good stuff. Highly recommended. Great Patreon pick again. Nowhere. All right, let's get into these questions, comments, and concerns. Brendan Timmons, congrats on finally wrapping 82. Excited for you to start digging in 83, if only because you finally watched The Boxer's Omen. And good luck with the dental surgery. I'm getting a root canal myself this coming Monday, so I'm suffering with you in spirit. Yeah, root canals are terrible. I had a teeth resorption root canal, and that fucker hurt just as bad as the gum surgeries. Gray Nunez gives me a smiley face. Thank you, hard eyes. Ken Coakley, I haven't seen 28 Years Later because I'm still in the nursing home, but I'm shooting for a September release. I really like 28 Days Later. It was my first time seeing Cillian Murphy. I don't know if I've seen it Killian and Cillian, but I'm not 100% sure what it's ever been pronounced properly. Movie. I laughed out loud when he was in the church and finding out the priest that he didn't know was infected. He clobbered the priest and apologized like any other Irish Catholic would do. I already liked Brendan Gleeson because of Braveheart. The bulletin board with all the photos and messages for loved ones reminded me of the days after 9/11 when photos and messages were spread throughout Ground Zero. I did get some of the Romero references such as the nod to Dawn of the Dead when they're going hog wild in the supermarket, as well as a Day of the Dead reference with the infected soldier chained up like Bub. The film also helped Christopher Esteton get his chance to be Doctor Who, which is the dream of many British actors. Is Esteton the actor who's in Shell of Grave too? I can't remember. I wasn't a fan of 28 Weeks Later. I saw it with my best friend. Two actors whom I like were in 28 Weeks Later, Robert Carlyle from Ravenous and Transporting, The Full Monty, and a British film Go Now, in which he played a man the world is turned upside down when he is diagnosed with MS. Harold Purnell from the 1996 version of Romeo and Juliet in the HBO series Oz, as well as Lost, was also in the film. Yeah, I love Oz. What was his name? Jeez, it's been so long. He's the narrator of the show, too. I am curious to watch 28 Weeks Later. 28 Years Later. I'm curious to watch 28 Weeks Later. I almost forgot Cillian Murphy starred in a really good Irish film called The Wind That Shakes the Barley. It was about partitioning of Ireland between North and South and the effect it had on two brothers. I recently revisited Vamp starring Grace Jones as well as Chris Makepeace, Robert Russler, Gwen Watabe, and Billy Drago. I had seen Makepeace in a couple films in which he played someone being bullied. He was in Meatballs with Bill Murray. Meatballs led to Bill Murray starring in Stripes. Originally, Stripes was going to be a Cheech and Chong film, in the fact the original title was supposed to be Cheech and Chong Join the Army. They backed out and they wrote a new script, but kept some of the jokes for the Judge Reinhold character. Makepeace also starred in My Bodyguard with Matt Dillon and Adam Baldwin. Then he did Mazes and Monsters, in which he didn't play a dork. Is it Rod Russell? I always thought it was Robert Russell. Not only co-starred in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, he also co-starred in a 1989 film called Shag, which was a Dirty Dancing ripoff that also starred Phoebe Cates, Bridget Fonda, and Annabeth Gish. I had a crush on Gish after seeing it. Flash forward a few months, I met and dated a dead ringer for Gish, who was also built like Debbie Sue Voorhees from Friday the 13th Part 5. Lucky guy. Vamp was pretty good, but the humor in the beginning just didn't catch. Even the jokes with Ged Wadabe, Long Duck Dong, and 16 Candles. Jason Bovey saw 28 Years Later a week ago, and it was the first movie I've seen in the theater in over a year. Given that I love 28 Days Later, when I saw it in the theater so many years ago, I was really excited about the new installment. What a huge disappointment. I agree with everything you said in your review, and it was validating to finally hear someone say the things I felt after seeing this abomination. Yeah, I mean, I was shocked how bad I thought it was, but yeah, I don't want to keep dwelling on it, man. It's like, I just want to be done with that movie. The Threed Room, I kept wanting to like 28 Years Later so badly. All minutes were definitely cool, but the way it was all put together made no sense at all. And the ending, dear Lord, what the hell? Ilk Vomit. New Beverly out here in Los Angeles is having a 3-day Return of the Living Dead screening from July 3rd to July 5th. I know it's not related to anything in this video, but just wanted to share that. Yeah, awesome. I'd go if I was there. Glory Good 56, super handsome. Thank you. Neil CJ, I kept waiting for them to give more details on what is an alpha zombie because it wasn't logical. I said that maybe the sequel will give us an idea, but honestly not holding my breath. Poorly handled, and like you, I don't care about Shalongs. Good for them. Give us more zombie dong for all I care. Just explain more about what it is and why it's there, and why we're not trying to kill them, and just dousing them and letting them run rampant still. Hideki talks, I cannot find the 82, the act of seeing one with one's own eyes. Would you by any chance be able to point me in the right direction? Did that for you. Hope you enjoy it. The Nick Moore from Belgium. I have to check out Crybaby again. It's been too long, and who can say no to Johnny Depp's early in his career? 28 Years Later has proven to be, dare I say it, divisive, so I'm going to hold off checking it out. Whilst I like Robert Carlyle, Rose Byrne, and Jeremy Renner as actor, I wasn't too fond of 28 Weeks Later. This film seems to be more of the same, alas. I also heard that Ania DaCosta will be directing part 2 of this 28 trilogy. Seriously, why doesn't present-day Hollywood have such hard-ons for trilogy based on... Why do they have such hard-ons for trilogies based on older movies? I never got into Candyman reinterpretation. It felt so based and over-stylized. It said nothing new. I also saw quite a few interviews with Mr. Boyle. He said he sure has changed, and not, I fear, for the better, and ran. I didn't hate the new Candyman. I just felt like there was 15 to 20 minutes cut out of the ending, which made it flow like shit. But I liked the movie overall. What's your John Waters top 3? I mean, number 1's got to be Polyester, number 2 Serial Mom, number 3 Pink Flamingos. Which of the movies you were and deserve a 4K? I don't know. Probably none. Do you think filmmakers should let sleeping corpses lie and let the zombie genre rest for a while, since nothing very original seems to be on the horizon? There's always something original. I know The Sadness is not technically a zombie movie, but it fits the genre. And I love it. So keep making them. I mean, if they suck, we ain't got to watch them. We ain't got to like them. Till next week, God willing, hopefully I'll have another job by then. Yeah, hopefully as well. Way up, dude. Gives me a thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit, as I don't want to make the new camera angle. Me being lazy. I blame the gum surgery, excuse king. But we're just going to do the update here in the Patreon pick here. First up, from my Kino sale, Andy Garcia and Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. After I imported the imprint version, I love this movie so much. So I had to get this. I love this movie. Boat Drinks, my friend. Great cast in there. Andy Garcia, William Forsythe, Treat Williams, Bill Nunn, Christopher Lloyd, Steve Buscemi, Christopher Walken, Don Stark, Bill Cobbs, Jack Warden. The list goes on and on. Great cast. And then I picked up Graveyard Shift. Show's Over. I love this movie. Always had a soft spot for it. One of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. I know it's a short story in Night Shift. I know it's a silly movie about a giant killer rat. But Brad Dourif acts the fuck out of this movie. Stephen Mott's great in there. Love Brogan. What a douchebag. I love him. Then we have, that's 4K as well, Teresa Russell and Ken Russell film Horror. Picked up, I always heard so much about horror, I've never seen it. NC-17, but I gotta love Ken Russell, so why not? Then we have Marcello Mastroianni and Ursula Andress in The 10th Victim by Elio Petri, which I've heard good things about. This is an upgrade, and it's got a good commentary on there by Howard S. Berger, Steve Mitchell, and Nathaniel Thompson. How can I go wrong? I have the old Blu-ray from Underground, but I upgraded there. And I picked this one up. It was going out of print. Robert Carradine, Billy D. Williams, number 1 with a bullet. Looks like a fun buddy cop movie. I'm a sucker for those. 87. Great time for that stuff. And then last, I did one from the Criterion sale. I chose wisely, I believe. I know that a lot of people telling me to watch, some more Sammo Hung, and I watched a lot of them, but this one here I couldn't pass up. Eastern Condors, Sammo Hung. That's right. Looks a lot of fun. Looks like a blast. I'm excited to watch this one. So, yeah. And we're going to do the Patreon pick. 5 names out of this behemoth here. Again, if you have been patron and you haven't been drawn out in the last few picks, let me know. You'll get bumped ahead. I put all these new ones in here finally. So what do we got? First up is John Wilhelm, Cryptid 2022. Johnny Boy. Next up, Art Figueredo, Super Inframan. Okay, I think that's a Hong Kong. That might be a Shaw Brother movie, if I'm not mistaken. Third up, we have Corruption, 1968, Nick Mua. That's a great one with Peter Cushing in a rare sleaze role. Tom Brooker, Creature, 2011. I think that has Sid Haig, if I'm not mistaken. That's 4. No, I didn't see Creature. And last one, Jim Simon, Bad Boy Bubby, which I already did. And I must have got thrown in there on accident, so we're not going to do Bad Boy Bubby again. Sometimes they get double thrown in. The last one is going to be Come True 2020, directed by Anthony Scott Burns, featuring Julia Sarah Stone and Landon. That's Nick Moore, Come True. Is this the one? If I did see that one, I'm going to draw 6th. Because Come True, is that the possible one? Oh man, I feel like it can't be that one, but I'm going to draw a 6. We're going to do 6 this time around, because I feel like I might have done Come True. And number 6 is going to be Lorna Incubus by Jess Franco. That's one of his shot-on-video movies, so there we go. That's the 6 that we're going to do. That's a cheapie Jess Franco, man. That's one that I probably wouldn't have watched if it wasn't a Patreon, but let's get out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you guys very much for watching, and as always, have a good one.